The last 24 hours have been crazy, both for me personally and also in the election coverage that I normally do on a daily basis. Before I get to my usual election coverage, I did want to just quickly say something to you all after the last 24 hours. When I decided to share what CTV did, I was really scared no one was going to care. Which would have meant that they learned no lesson, and this would happen to another journalist next time there's a bad faith outrage campaign that's trying to silence someone. But you guys, you did care. And you made sure CTV heard that loud and clear. If only to teach them the difference between bad faith outrage and real outrage, which hopefully means they'll stop caving to bad faith outrage because they'll recognize that when they do that, they can incur actual real outrage by silencing journalists like me. We'll wait and see on that. But as incredibly cheesy as it sounds, today I do genuinely have hope that we can make the world a little bit better. And you guys gave me that hope, so thank you. Speaking of the world, it has been a chaotic 24 hours. This might be slightly less comprehensive than usual because I've had a bit of a crazy day. But in the time since my last update yesterday, 2 more Conservative candidates were dropped from the race. And last night, Carney paused his campaign again to head to Ottawa ahead of Trump's tariffs, which he just announced. Poilievre started his day with a speech on how to take on Trump's tariff threat. And one interesting thing that he was asked about was whether he has directly reached out to the Americans, and he said he has not because he didn't want to divide Canada's voice in its approach to the Americans. His plan included renegotiating our trade deal with the US, cutting income taxes here, reducing the capital gains tax for people who invest in Canada, and some of these he already announced, to be clear, and to stand up a business liquidity support program to give companies access to cash to keep workers on the payroll through tough times. That's straight out of this CBC article. Poilievre has also talked about creating an economic fortress to be able to withstand Trump's threats by really focusing on oil and gas development. He hasn't talked about climate change in that whatsoever. But the goal of this is to lessen Canada's dependence on the American market. Meanwhile, Trump did actually announce his tariffs, but it was really unclear the degree to which they're going to impact Canada. Like, he had this big list. Canada wasn't on it, and Katie Simpson on CBC said that in the handout that they were given that broke down country by country what was going to happen, it didn't include Canada. Trump did, however, name check us a few times in his speech, mostly complaining about supply management. But importantly, Canada was not on Trump's list of countries subject to a 10% baseline of tariffs. That doesn't mean we aren't going to be hit by them, just that we weren't on this list. So we'll see what happens. I'm recording this literally at 5:31 p.m. So something could change in like 10 minutes. But the 25% auto tariff and 25% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum is still on the table. So unfortunately, we can still expect economic pain here, but potentially a little bit less. Potentially, we are not getting the worst case scenario here. But who knows? Everything could change in like 10 minutes, in an hour, in a day, in a week. We'll see. Mark Carney also reacted to the tariffs on the way into a cabinet meeting. So here's what he had to say.
President Trump has just announced a series of measures that are going to fundamentally change the international trading system. Now, in doing so, he has preserved a number of important elements of our relationship, the commercial relationship between Canada and the United States. But the fentanyl tariffs still remain in place, as do the tariffs for steel and aluminum. As of this evening, the tariffs on automobiles will enter into force, and the U.S. has signaled that there will be additional tariffs in so-called strategic sectors, pharmaceuticals, lumber, and semiconductors. So we're in a situation where there is going to be an impact on the U.S. economy, which will build with time. In our judgment, it will be negative on the U.S. economy. That will have an impact on us. But the series of measures will directly affect millions of Canadians. We are going to fight these tariffs with countermeasures. We are going to protect our workers and we are going to build the strongest economy in the G7. In a crisis, it's important to come together, and it's essential to act with purpose and with force, and that's what we will do.
So yeah, this election day was definitely marked by tariffs absolutely dominating everything. I'm sorry I don't have more solid information for you. Hopefully by tomorrow's video, I will be able to tell you more firmly where we're at. But the one thing I can tell you right now is things are not boring, neither on the international scale or the personal scale. I really can't express, I know I'm talking about it a lot, but how grateful I am for you. You guys are amazing. You give me the platform that allows me to have the power to stand up for myself in these scenarios. So I want you to know I am so grateful for you. I recognize that I would not be able to speak out like this without you. And I just hope you know that you made a difference. What do you think of all this?